Good afternoon everybody, welcome back to Marrick's Koi Pond. Wednesday the something of September, I don't know, 18th, 19th. Titled this movie, or titled this video, Disaster Movie, because that's exactly what it is. I think you can tell, look, why are them fish in there and not in the main pond. Oh, total disaster, absolutely total disaster. It's not clickbait, it really is, it's been a disaster. I still don't know if this has been successful or not. Pond's being filled up with water. I put some markers on that pond wall over there so I can stop the water at that point, leave it a few hours, make sure that it's not leaking. But the problem being, you probably can't see it now because I wanted to get as much water over it, but not quite in that corner, but about a foot away from that corner, all the way along this seam on the bottom, it had split. There was about 5 or 6 holes in total. One was about 3 or 4 inches long, one was about 2 inches long, and there was a couple of other small ones that I didn't even spot. I've had a friend come over today, Jim from Park Farm Fisheries at Eaton Brae. I rung him up in desperation anyway. Good old boy, he's come out. I just wanted a pair of eyes really, just to say whether my idea was a good idea or it's a non-runner, you know. He's come out, he's looked at it, he's got in there, looked at it, rolled his eyes. I thought, here we go, I know what he's going to say. But he said we can give that a go, he said. And good to his word, mate, he was here at 9:30, went at 2 o'clock, and he's fairly confident, providing there's no leaks, providing we haven't missed anything round, obviously, the rest of the pond. He's fairly confident we might have done it. The problem being is, I must have overdug this pond, because this bit of line there I'm showing you there was like a void behind it. It wasn't sitting flush at right angles in the corner. It was like a curve, and so the liner was sitting in fresh air, if you like. There was nothing behind it supporting it. And I think where, obviously because it's a box welded liner, where the two, it's not a seam as such, well it is a seam, but it's not like a tape seam. It's like they overlap the liner and then vulcanise it, and I think just where it meets that vulcanised line is a weak point, and the line is just stretched over the years, or the ground has settled, I don't know. He said perhaps the ground has settled over years, been here 15 years, well more than 15 years. I was trying to work it out with Liz, my wife, when we redone this pond. And for the life of us, we can't, it's a minimum of 15 years anyway. But what we've done is, where those splits were, we've squirted a load of expanding foam in there, because apparently it's rot proof, and also moisture helps cure it. So now that liner is sitting on a bed, you know, it's got something to cushion behind it, whereas before it was nothing. The liner was like, you know, when I emptied this pond, got in there, stuck my finger through the split, it was just an empty void, you know. There was no, the liner wasn't touching the floor or the wall. So we squirted a load of expanding foam in there, let it go off, just let it go off, and Jim, good old boy that he is, he's run a couple of very thin strips along that seam with MS300, and he's got a couple of the tubes of mastic. I can't remember the name of it now, but it's an equivalent to MS300 anyway. So he's reinforced that seam where that split was, and then we've gone over it again, or rather Jim has gone over it again with like loads of patches, MS300, rolling it all on, and he said get some water in here quick. I said, well, don't we have to wait till that cures? He says no, that will cure underwater, but also the weight of water will push that liner against the expanding foam before that expanding foam sets too hard, so it's got a cushion, you know. Oh, this has been an absolute nightmare. I haven't eaten, I haven't slept. This all started, when did this start? Last Monday. I've even started taking some coping stones off it, because I thought, what can I do to bolster that? I was going to take the coping stones off and peel the liner back and tip some like child play sand down there to give it a cushion. But I mean this, it's not Jerry built this pond. When I built this is like, well, it's not concrete, mate, that's like steel. That is as hard as nails. It's been on there so long. So we abandoned that idea, and Jim felt that the sand would get everywhere anyway, come out the splits. He said I can't really seal that up until we've got something behind it to give it some support, which I agreed with. Anyway, we went with the expanding foam idea. I mean, I don't know if this is going to work. I mean, I pray it is, because, you know, he priced this up and his guess is, you know, this is 1,200 quid's worth of liner plus VAT. It's massive, and it's box weld, got some intricate shapes in it. But he did say to me that he has repaired worse, so fingers crossed. He hasn't guaranteed the job, obviously, but he's done a real good job down there. And if you can see it, because it's underwater now, I don't know if you can see it, but from that corner all the way along there, all the way along there, all the way along there, and we're stopped there. Just like I say, it wasn't sitting at right angles in the corner, you know. I must have undercut it when I built it. Either that or that ground in this area has sunk a little bit. It was just stressing the liner. It was just the weight of water on there was just pushing the liner down. But you know, if the liner was sitting in the corners nice and neat, it's got nowhere to push down on. But we're just trying to push it into air, you know. But he really has. I was in here yesterday, you know, trying to clean this, scrub it down with a wire, not a wire, like a scouring pad, you know. Oh, this algae mate was on here. Got in here this morning, I've got a Karcher 4, got in there this morning, tried it, nozzle wasn't touching it, just wasn't touching it, but in the end, got one of those, you know, like one of those needle point nozzles, lances. Got to be ever so careful, because I mean that would cut, you could cut holes with that thing, it's that powerful, but we had no choice, that's all we could do. But anyway, he's cleaned that all up with that pressure washer for me. He had like a 25 or 20 litre container of acetote. Is it acetote? So he's cleaned all that liner, cleaned the new bits of rubber we've put on, MS300, and he said, right, get some water in here now. He said, so the weight of water will help push them patches on and help cure that MS300. Oh, what a nightmare. And also I've got to thank Golden Corn Diaries, Doris and Cuball, and ANC, Ash and Chris. You know, I put it on our message group that I had a problem. You know what? Instantly they arranged to come up the weekend and give me a hand, and they did at a drop of a hat. You know, because I was absolutely pulling my hair out. I didn't know what to do. Haven't slept, haven't eaten. Oh, it's just been a nightmare. But I just can't afford to replace this liner. It's so much. it's not so much the money replacing the liner, but it's the work. I mean, I took these coping stones off this morning. It took me an hour to get them two off, and I've still got this bed of mortar, and I'm hitting it, smashing that out of it with a club hammer, and it's not touching it. So for all these coping stones to come off, I was at my wit's end. I was about, you know, I thought, right, I'll fix it. I'll get in there with a Stanley knife and I'll cut every bit of liner I can see. And then that's it then. End of the hobby. That's how I felt, I really did. But without A&C, Golden Cord, and Jim, like I say, spoke to Jim on the phone. He was down here this morning. I only asked him for a pair of eyes, you know, just to give me his thoughts. But he bought all his gear with him. Bought some offcuts of EDPM liner. And he was down here this morning, and it didn't faze him. Where with me, I was pulling my hair out. It just didn't faze him, you know. He's got in there. He's cleaned that all off with that Karcher, acetoned it all, put a thin strip along the seam that was splitting, and then overlap that with like quite wide patches of EDPM. I'm going to take it up to that mark there tonight. It's on the first mark. I was going to hold it there for tonight, but it hasn't quite gone over the top of them patches, so I'm going to take it up to that second mark tonight, leave it overnight, and hopefully I'll probably going to have a sleepless night tonight. And when I come out in the morning, I'm hoping and praying that water level is on that mark. Oh, what a disaster. What a total disaster. But the consensus of opinion is that this has been leaking for a long time and I just haven't noticed it. I'll tell you when I did notice it. I was sitting in my swing seat watching the pond, and I noticed, you know when you get like a water stain at the top of your pond, I just noticed it was about an inch and a half down, and I had noticed in the previous week or 10 days that my Torbeck valve, my float valve in my drum, was running, letting water in a lot more than it usually does. And I sort of confused myself. I sort of made 2 and 2 make 5, because I thought to myself, maybe it's because the week before I got my Karcher out and I jet washed the drum screen, you know, so it's like crystal, you know, and I thought to myself, it's because the drum screen is so clean now, it's letting the water through it, letting more water go through it when it washes itself, it's going to waste. So, you know, your brain sort of makes up reasons for why the water level's down. And then I rodded the bottom drain as well, and I thought, oh no, don't tell me I've blown the mastic out that bottom drain. You know, it's got the Karcher, one of these Karcher drain rods, and got the end of a like a flexible pipe. You've got a brass bullet on the end with holes in it that's drilled backwards, so when you pull the trigger, the actual water fires backwards. So then I thought, oh no, it's me bottom drain. Not for 1 minute did I suspect the liner. But anyway, we got these fish transferred over into that swimming pool, and I just let it drop naturally, and it was dropping like a stone. Literally dropping like a stone, and it stopped about an inch above that bottom drain. I climbed in there, went all around it. I found the 2 big splits, but it's a good job Jim come down this morning, because he found another 3, albeit little tiny ones, you know. So if I had done it, I would have done those 2 big splits, filled it up with water, and it's still leaking. I mean, there's no guarantee on this is going to not leak anyway, but you know, we're confident that the damage is in this area here, down there, and not the rest of the pond. Been all round it, he's been round it, I've been round it, just feeding, you know. What a nightmare. I've broken, apparently, I've broken the stem inside there. I forgot that the dome actually screws off, you know, because I weren't thinking, just panicking. Anyway, a friend of mine was in there saying, how does this come off? Because we want to inspect the bottom drain, see if we can see any bubbles around that mastic ring. And I said, well, it just pulls up, because I thought the stem just slid into the spigot, which it obviously did once upon a time, but at some stage, because this has been off twice, we've had to get in a pond and put the dome back on there, and I must have put a touch of glue on it or something to glue the stem to that spigot. But anyway, talking to Jim this morning, that spigot is part of the moulding of that bottom drain, and it's broken off, so that is basically a bit like me, knackered, foobard. But there is, apparently you can get these weighted, people that suffer with blanket weed, you can get these weighted domes. So you get a whacking great big weight that sits on the bottom of that bottom drain. It's got 3 or 4 supporting rods come up, and it actually supports a dome. So if you suffer from blanket weed, you just lift it up, that dome up, and it comes out, and you can get to all the blanket weed, you know. Oh, I just hope this works. It's a bit annoying, well, very annoying, very upsetting, very annoying, because this water was so mature, this water, you know, I'm going to have to start again and be very, very careful for these fish go back in there, providing, of course, we've fixed it. But I feel comfortable now, because like Jim from Park Farm Fisheries was telling me this morning, he said, Marek, he said, without any support behind there, he said, that's just a void, mate, it's going to do it again. Anyway, we come up, we was going to put sand in. He said, you know what, he said, I don't like the sand idea. He said, that's going to get everywhere. He said, it's going to be all over me, you know, all over that mastic, you know, I want it to seal properly. So come up with this expanding foam, went down Screwfix, bought 2 cans of expanding foam, and he just inserted it through the things, and he's just literally screwed it all in there, and he's massaged it all along that bottom edge. So now there's a little bit of a contour, and then it was just going off. He said, right, look, I'll just wait till that starts going off, and then he said, then I've got something to roll her against, you know what I mean? When he put the patches on, got something to roll her against. Oh, I saved him well, if it works. If it works. But he said he's done worse, so, you know, I'm confident. And I watched him work, and he's so meticulous. Everything was spotlessly clean. You know, he's done a real good job of that power washer, getting every scrap of algae off there. Went over it with acetone, went over it with a scouring pad. So I reckon those repairs, you know, are going to be stronger than the original seam where it was seamed in the first place. A big thumbs up to Jim, Park Farm Fisheries, Eaton Brae, Dunstable. Well worth a trip, really is. They've got fishing lakes there as well, day fishing lakes. Well worth a visit if you're in the area. ANC, Golden Corn Diaries, thanks for your help. I've been, what do they say, up the creek without a paddle, as they say. Or I could put it a bit more graphic than that if you wanted. Well, I'm going to leave it there and hope and pray tomorrow morning. Hope I get some sleep tonight, and hope tomorrow morning that water will be on that second line. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll catch you, hopefully I will catch you on another video. Thank you, bye.